You are standing around a fire 40,000 years ago. The night is cold. The dark is full of teeth you cannot see. And instead of hunting, instead of building, instead of resting, you are talking about someone who isn't there. You are gossiping. It feels small. It feels petty. It feels like the least important thing a human being could do to survive an ice age. But here's the strange truth. Without that conversation, you would already be dead. Think about that for a second. Not the food, not the fire, the talking. For most of human history, scientists assumed our species survived because of tools or fire, or bigger brains built for hunting mammoths and outsmarting predators. But there's a problem with that story. Chimpanzees are strong. Wolves hunt in packs. Many animals cooperate to kill. None of them built cities. None of them left the planet. So, what actually happened inside the human skull that never happened anywhere else? In the 1990s, a British anthropologist named Robin Dunbar noticed something odd while studying primates. The bigger a primate's social group, the bigger its neocortex, the part of the brain responsible for complex thought. But there was a ceiling. Grooming, the physical act of picking through fur to bond with others, could only support groups of about 50 individuals. Beyond that, there wasn't enough daylight in a day to groom everyone you needed to trust. So how did early humans blow past that ceiling and form tribes of over 100, then villages, then nations? Dunbar's answer was almost embarrassing in its simplicity. Language replaced grooming. And the very first use of language wasn't hunting strategy. It wasn't spirituality. It was gossip. Picture two early humans sitting by that fire. One leans in and whispers something about a third person who is off gathering wood. Maybe he stole food last season. Maybe he abandoned an injured hunter. That whisper is not wasted breath. That whisper is data. It tells you who to trust and who to watch. It is, in the coldest evolutionary sense, a survival tool disguised as small talk. Here's where it gets strange. Dunbar later analyzed recorded conversations across offices, dinner tables, and public spaces, and found that roughly 65% of all human conversation is social in nature. Not weather, not politics, people. Who did what? Who said what? Who can be trusted and who can't? We assume this is a modern distraction, a symptom of celebrity culture and social media. But the pattern is ancient. It might be the very reason you're capable of reading this sentence at all. Ask yourself something uncomfortable. Why does hearing a rumor about a stranger feel so satisfying? Why can't you look away from an argument at the next table in a restaurant? The answer lives inside a part of your brain most people have never heard of. Neuroscientists have found that discussing other people, especially their moral failures, activates the brain's reward circuitry, the same dopamine pathway triggered by food and, in some studies, by cocaine. Your brain did not evolve to enjoy gossip by accident. It evolved to crave it, because knowing who was dangerous and who was reliable used to be the difference between living through winter and becoming someone else's meal. Now, widen the lens. In small hunter-gatherer bands, there was no police force, no written law, no courtroom. If someone cheated, stole, or endangered the group, there was only one enforcement mechanism available: reputation. And reputation only exists because people talk about each other when the person in question isn't in the room. Anthropologist Christopher Boehm, after decades studying egalitarian hunter-gatherer societies, proposed something called reverse dominance hierarchy. In most primate groups, the strongest individual dominates everyone else through fear. But human groups found a way to flip that. If one man became too aggressive, too greedy, too dangerous, the rest of the group didn't need brute strength to stop him. They needed only conversation. Group gossip could isolate a bully faster than any weapon, stripping him of alliances, until he either changed his behavior or was cast out entirely. Where a lion enforces order through claws, a human tribe enforced order through whispered warnings passed from mouth to mouth, which raises an uncomfortable question. What happens to a person who becomes the subject of that whisper? In small ancient communities, reputation wasn't just social currency, it was oxygen. Being talked about badly could mean exclusion from the group, and exclusion in a world with no supermarkets, no locks, no hospitals was often a death sentence. This is why humans evolved something almost no other animal has in the same intensity: a fear of being talked about behind their back. That anxious feeling when you wonder what people are saying about you when you leave a room isn't irrational. It's an ancient alarm system, forged over hundreds of thousands of years, still ringing long after the danger changed shape. Now here's the twist that changes everything you just heard. Gossip wasn't only used to punish, it was also used to teach. Every piece of information about who did what carried a lesson buried inside it. She shared her food during the famine. He hoarded his. That story, repeated at fires for generations, wasn't idle chatter. It was a moral education system with no textbooks and no teachers, just voices repeating patterns of behavior worth remembering. In a very real sense, gossip may be one of the first forms of human culture, a way of transmitting values across generations before writing ever existed. Which brings us to something researchers call the social brain hypothesis. As tracking relationships got more complex, who owes who, who's allied with who betrayed who last season, the human brain had to grow simply to keep score. Tracking 20 relationships is easy. Tracking 150 overlapping alliances, favors, debts, and betrayals requires serious computing power. Some researchers argue this social complexity, not tool making, may be the true reason human brains tripled in size compared to our primate ancestors. Now think about your own life for a second, because this still shapes it more than you'd expect. Every time you check a 5-star rating before buying something online, you're doing exactly what your ancestors did around that fire. Every time you ask a friend, "What's this person actually like?" before a first date, you're running the oldest software humans have ever built: Yelp reviews, LinkedIn recommendations, Amazon stars. They are not modern inventions. They are digital campfires, and the whispers just travel faster now. There's something else strange hiding here, too. Studies on gossip content across dozens of cultures, from isolated villages to modern cities, consistently find that the majority of gossip isn't cruel, it's neutral or even useful. Information exchange disguised as conversation. The image of gossip as purely malicious, something whispered with cruelty behind someone's back, may be a modern distortion of something that was originally closer to a survival network than a weapon. So if gossip built human society, why does it still feel shameful to admit you enjoy it? Maybe because somewhere along the way, the tool got weaponized. In small tribes, everyone eventually heard both sides. Rumors self-corrected because the community was small enough for truth to circulate. But once societies grew into the millions, gossip lost its built-in correction system. A whisper in a village of 50 finds its target and its context. A whisper in a city, or worse, online, can spread untethered from truth entirely, reaching thousands of strangers who will never hear the other side. The tool that once held tribes together peacefully can now, at scale, tear communities apart precisely because it was never designed to travel this far, this fast, without accountability. Which brings you back to that fire, 40,000 years ago. The people huddled there weren't wasting time by talking about someone who wasn't present. They were building the very thing that would let their species outlast every predator, every winter, every rival hominid species that once shared this planet with us and no longer exists. Homo sapiens didn't win by being the strongest. We won because we learned to talk about each other.
No.
So the next time you catch yourself leaning toward a friend to ask, "Did you hear what happened?" Don't feel guilty. You're not gossiping. You're running a piece of software older than agriculture, older than writing, maybe older than fire itself. And somewhere in your chest, in that small flicker of satisfaction when you learn something new about someone else, is the same feeling that once kept your ancestors alive around a fire in the dark, deciding together who could be trusted when the sun came up.